A lot of time and effort has been put down to get to this stage, but you might ask yourself, Maz, this doesn't look that finished. And you are absolutely right, but soon, very soon, hopefully, we will have a lift here functioning as expected. Obviously, if you want to do something similar for yourself, one thing is then to measure your inner measurements of your garage, and as you can see, I am a little bit then, or quite much, restricted with space, but I still opted for to have this placed in the middle, lengthwise and widthwise, and that will accommodate maybe not all cars because this garage is small, and if I want to have a large car, potentially we might run into some issues with spacing then, but we will see. So with the MX-5 and with the Mustang Mach-E that we have as an example, it is no issue as such to use the lift with the lift points those cars have. But again, then it's not possible. It could be possible that I can't accommodate all cars. So that is something you need to think of. And potentially what I will do now is remove my sim rig and move this bench, everything towards the other wall over there. So we have some more room on the side of the car. And the next thing, which is then obviously important, is which lift you go for, and I haven't disclosed yet which lift it is. So it is a Twin Busch SE35. It is a 3.5 ton capacity lift. They do also have a 3 ton capacity lift, but I opted to go for the 3.5 ton, and that's not mainly with regards to the 500 kilos extra lifting capacity. It is more that the ramps are actually positioned wider compared to the 3 ton lift. So I think it's around, I can't remember, I'll put it in a text, I think it was around 20-ish centimeters wider between the two platforms than which you drive up on. So I thought that would be easier. And also one thing maybe that you don't think of why having the platforms wider is, let's take the MX-5. I will drive up on the ramps, lift the car up. We will have quite a bit of the ramps sticking out on each side, and I can use that as a shelf, so to speak, while we're working. We can put our tools there and so on. So that is also something, in my opinion, that is nice. Obviously, it is more expensive than to go for that lift for me, at least. I bought it directly from Twin Busch in Germany, and with the Swedish currency, that sucks. It became quite expensive, but hey, you YOLO. Yes, so that's that. The hole has been done to accommodate that specific lift. Lengthwise, it is the same between the 3 ton and a 3.5 ton, but widthwise, then we did have to go a little bit wider in order to be able to cater for that. And also we then had plans from Twin Busch on how to cut and also the depth of the hole. It is approximately, I'm just giving approximate now, so it's 206 centimeters lengthwise, and I think it was 205 widthwise. I'm not exactly sure of the true measurements of the lift itself. We will see what's in when it's here, but I think we will have some wiggle room here and there if we need to adjust something then. And also in the plan it says to have it 110 millimeters in depth, and so 11 centimeters. That is what we have here all around. But as my previous floor then did have a slope, everything is not exactly the same when it comes to having up to each edge. It's not exactly 11 centimeters then, but that's something we can see if we can do something about then. What we did after that, we measured up everything with tape. A contractor, actually the guy who helped me do the foundation for the garage and also the house and all of the landscaping that we have done here over the years, he came out and helped me with the cutting. So we rented one of these cutting machines for concrete, like a stroller more or less, in order for us to be able to get as straight cuts as possible. As I did have rebar in the floor since previously, it made some of the removal of the concrete more cumbersome, where we had to actually use a jackhammer to make things to smaller pieces, specifically then in the edges. it was difficult to get there with the big cutter then. And I'll show you a video clip on what it looked like. So when we started the cutting itself required a lot of water to minimize the dust, but then we had to make some smaller cuts for the conduit. I'll show it to you later. It was dust all over the place, even though we had every plastic and everything. I don't know how many times I have cleaned up this place, but that's the way it is. So we did cut down. So I had, I think it was 20 centimeters of isolation under the concrete then. So that's, we build properly here in Sweden, so we had isolation under the whole foundation, but I didn't want to dig out too much, and also for the cold to come in from the walls through that 20 centimeter thick isolation then into this middle part. I don't think it will be an issue, because what we have here now is only 10 centimeters of isolation under the concrete we have here. We had a company then to deliver the concrete, and we have rebar here on 2 levels. So one, I think we had it 35 millimeters or something like that above the first layer is the 35 millimeters above the isolation, and then we have another layer 35, I think it was, below the concrete itself, and we have around 15 centimeters of concrete all around. So it will be no issues at all by having a scissor lift on that much of a concrete with that much of a rebar. So hopefully we will not have any surface cracks, as we do have the upper layer of the rebar. Some of you guys might comment down below, you don't actually do 2 layers of rebar with that thin of a concrete then, but I don't know. So hopefully it will work out. And also luckily we were able to reuse the drain I had here in the garage. So previously then we had a slope coming in from all the edges on walls, etc., into the middle for drainage. We do have a very, very local drainage now, so it's just I don't know, 5 centimeters around in diameter around the drain hole there, where we do have some slope just to get some of the water out. I don't know what we will do with any water that will then come to the sides. I'll see if I can figure that out in some way, or if you have any tips on that, it will be great. Leave them down below in the comment sections. So once we had the concrete poured, we have then finished the surface. What I did afterwards was to then prime the concrete, and then I have painted it with this gray color just to match the garage, and also it will protect the concrete with regards to standing water a little bit more. And also, as we did prime it, the concrete will not absorb as much of water compared to if we did not prime the concrete. What I will show you now is the conduit. What we did was a diagonal cut just to minimize the amount of cutting we needed to do, and also the impact on the number of tiles then which we needed to remove and replace. And Twin Busch do recommend a 90 millimeter piping then for the conduit, and that is for you to be able to have the hydraulic lines and also the electrical cord that goes to the maneuver box. And I think those are like around 2.5-3 meters long, so we will be able to position that box then somewhere around this wall then. But what I did opt for is to go for, I think it was a 70 or 75 millimeter piping, because I think that's sufficient for the hydraulic lines and the power cable that we have for the Twin Busch lift. So we do then have a pipe that goes up here with 245 millimeter angles then, and we have concrete, and it was a first for me, so I have set these tiles myself, so hopefully it doesn't show too much in the video. I don't have my own mic as Matt Mormon in Obsessed Garage, so I had to do with my own knowledge, so this was a first for me. So I grinded down the concrete that we had poured and then primed it, and then thin set obviously, put the tiles next to each other, nudged it away so the thin set then spreads evenly around and sets properly under the tile. And also I had thin set under the tile as well, and on the concrete while I was setting this. I let it harden for, I think it was 2 days, and then I did the grout, and the grout itself is not fully matching the rest of the floor, as the rest of the floor has been here since 2018. Being a first, I think it was a job well done from my end. You might wonder why we do have all these joists here. So it's a twofold answer to that question. One is the ones on the sides here. I have used them to actually be able to drive my MX-5 into the garage, so it's not parked outside, triggering my OCD badly. So that's one thing. And also the joists here in the middle. So tomorrow, hopefully then, when the lift will be delivered here, the transportation company will have a pallet jack or similar, and he can transport it down here, because it's 65 meters to the road then from our driveway. And if he just leaves it there, we will be in big trouble. So hopefully he's kind enough and we'll transport it down here. So we will be able to drive the pallet jack then on top of these, lower the pallet which the lift is on, and then we will tackle the next challenge we have. One is then to actually have the lift removed from the pallet, and then also lowering the lift itself down to the hole which we have done here. And my idea is to create a beam that goes across in this direction, so it's actually then a bit longer than the hole itself, and then we will have straps around that beam and around the lift itself. We will see how we will exactly do that, but that's my idea at least. And then we will use two jacks, one jack here and one jack on that side, and lift the beam up, and that will then lift the lift itself up as well. And in that way we will be able to remove it from the pallet and also lower it down into the hole without any issues. That is at least my idea, but we will see if that was a bad idea or not. Otherwise we'll have to rent some equipment to help us with that process. So with that said, let's wait until the lift comes tomorrow and see what trouble we will get ourselves into. Finally, we have a lift in place, or somewhat in place. So this is actually 5 days after I recorded the last clip, because they were supposed to deliver this on a specific day then, but they came here, started the unloading, and then they didn't even have my scissor lift with them, so we had to rearrange the delivery. And for some reason this was packed furthest into the truck when he came here, so he unloaded, I don't know, 10 or so pallets on the road up there. And he was supposed to help me to get it off the pallet and so on, but then there was a neighbor that wanted to drive out of the neighborhood, and there was a little bit of a scene. So as you can see, it's still on the pallet. But that is for the next video, so I will unbox this, and then we will see if my theory on how to get this onto the ground safely will work or not. But stay tuned for that. If you did like today's video, give it a thumbs up, and also do remember to subscribe for future content with the lift, car detailing, car modification, tech, and so on. But with that said, I'll be seeing you on the next one.